Wanted to once again lead off this week by saying a big thank you to everyone who has taken the time to step up and support the Florida Maquis over at the Patreon channel. Have not forgotten about you guys. We've got a brand new set of videos coming out that I've been working on, and I've been kind of alluding to them over the last week here at the main YouTube channel and at the backup channel. Some of you may have noticed we've taken more of an interest back in Antarctica because there's an interesting parallel that goes on between those who are interested in Antarctica and those who believe in flat Earth. Now, this video is not to denigrate anyone. I have my beliefs, everyone does. But it's a fascinating study in psychology that it isn't a mere exercise of physics and geometry. It becomes very, very personal to people. Many years ago, when this first got rolled out on YouTube and Facebook, you would see comment threads going 5,000, 6,000 comments long, where people would continue for months to go back and forth and back and forth, and why it was so particular to them, given that whatever resolution you came to, it changed nothing. Now, what does this have in common with Antarctica? Well, flat Earth folks believe that basically north is the middle and south is the edge, and basically west is clockwise and east is counterclockwise. Okay, based on this model, that would make sense. Well, in Antarctica, every direction from the center out is north, and every direction toward the center is south. So imagine, close your eyes for just a second, and imagine evolving a civilization here at the South Pole that had developed compasses. You could state, based on looking at a compass, that north is just every direction toward the sea. North always points towards water, and south always points inland. And you would be 100% correct. Now, is north always pointing towards the water on the planet? No. But as far as you're concerned, on a continent the size of Europe, actually larger than Europe, you would be able to prove irrefutably that you were correct 100 times out of 100. Go in any direction that is south, and it would take you away from the water. Go in any direction that points north, and you will arrive at the water. And you could prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt. Would it be correct? Technically, no. It would be correct for the situation you were in at that time, but there would be no way you could disprove it. Therefore, you could state unequivocally, well, when we arrive at the middle, where every direction is north, meaning the South Pole, we will have arrived at the center of the universe. We will have arrived at the center of the world, and that's where we're going to build our city. And that's where we're going to exist. We're going to live right there. And we will know that there will be one direction that nature proves is away from the center, away from the middle. And no matter how, if you could maybe go back in time to these people and try to explain to them, okay, well, you live someplace that's a little bit more complicated, and while, yes, this is true for you, it isn't true everywhere else. They would laugh at you. They would laugh at you. They could prove it over and over and over again. And based on that, they could build cities and roads and advanced civilizations, all based on something that was provably incorrect and provably correct identically at the same time. So we're going to get into this a little bit deeper over at Patreon. Would love to have you. It's only $1 per month, as I've stated before. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. We will open the forum over there. No one will be redacted. No one will be deleted for stating their beliefs in flat Earth or their beliefs against it. You'll be able to speak your mind and say what you believe and why you believe it. And believe me, I have family members that believe in flat Earth, and I've heard all of the hundreds and hundreds of arguments, and I understand where they're coming from. But sometimes things are more complicated when you don't have all of the information. Here's a perfect example. This is a screenshot, a picture of what I believe to be a woolly mammoth coming out of a cave in Antarctica. In fact, let's go to Google Earth Pro real quick and we'll show that location. Now, we've shown this in other videos as well, and some might say, oh, Florida Maquis. Have you done the measurements on that thing? It's way, way bigger than any other woolly mammoth that's ever lived. And you would be right. The tusk right here, what we're looking at, is about, 18 feet long. And from what looks like the front left haunch to the top of the head is about 44 feet. So this image isn't miles long or thousands of meters long. It's much bigger than any woolly mammoth that's ever been found anywhere. But funny story. See if I can find the right image. When I was a kid, grade school, junior high, if you would have asked anyone, what's the largest dinosaur that's ever lived? People have said, well, I think it was Brontosaurus. And that's, I'm circling it right here on the kind of the lower right of your screen. It's the one with the gray and the stripes. This is what was largely known and accepted to science to be the largest dinosaur that had ever lived in the 1970s, early 80s. Brontosaurus excelsus, hence the name excelsus. Well, what do we know now? Compared to the actual largest dinosaur known now to have ever lived, Brontosaurus could have walked beneath it, between its legs, and not even hit the lower belly of Amphicoelius altus. So when science says something, sometimes take a breath. That's all they knew at the time. There's Diplodocus and Supersaurus and, what they called Seismosaurus, Brachiosaurus, all bigger. But this is what happens sometimes with science. It just is what it is. And we also know, and we've talked about this before, polar gigantism. There are things, like on the left, pillbug, that you can go find in virtually any forest in North America, and it's a little thing that some call them roly-polies, and kids play with them all day long. You look at the same animal on the right, and it's, you need to hold it basically with two hands. It's a mechanism for survival that they, animals meaning, develop at the poles because of the extremes in weather. There's also this. This is from 2007. Oldest solar observatory discovered in Peru. Now, this is in 2007. I hadn't seen this. This is a very old article. And I was doing some research and I came across the image. And I had found something in Antarctica that I thought was curious, but I didn't think was probably worth talking about until I saw this image. They've used technology to kind of burn through all of the vegetation, and they found this confirmed oldest solar observatory in the Americas discovered in the coastal Peru region, archaeologists announced today. Now, if we go down to Antarctica, I found something that was virtually identical to it. But I didn't think about it truly until I saw that image. And let's see if we can find it in the right layer. And there it is. There is some kind of building or structure, and there is this circular moat-like feature around it on the hill, and there's a secondary one that's much fainter, and I'll give you these locations, and you can look for yourself in Antarctica. Right here, and this is on a hillside. This is in the 10-2009 region. Now, what makes this strange is this is October 2009. The article that we were referencing here from NBC News is March 1, 2007. So, not very far away as far as time goes from when this was discovered to where that was appearing on Google Earth. So, funny story. This was, when was this? I guess this was September this year. They found an elephant-like creature in Chile. Now, it's, as far as elephant-like creatures go, it's not very big, weighs up to 4 tons, 8,000 pounds, and could reach 3 meters. Now, African elephants, if I'm not mistaken, can weigh up to like 10 tons or 11 tons, something like that. So this was smaller as far as elephants go, but it just shows you the range that you could expect from this to if they had found this first, for example, before they discovered African elephants still living. You know, they would have been very shocked at how big African elephants were and how much they weighed. So I don't think it's a stretch to believe that perhaps in Antarctica, where we know polar gigantism exists, when we find something like this, and we look very closely at it, we're like, well, yeah, that's a lot larger than we have found before, but just like the Brontosaurus, you know, both things could be true. At that time, it was the largest, but now it's no longer. And I guess that kind of takes us back to the whole argument of how can two things that seem to be opposite be true at the same time? And that's what we're going to open the forum for, because even YouTube doesn't like the discussions of flat Earth because they believe it goes against quote-unquote accepted science. Well, we can go over to Patreon, take off the gloves, and talk about it openly. And you can bring your stack of, you know, whatever evidence you have for one thing, and those who don't agree with you can bring other stacks of evidence showing other. But once again, think about the concept, though. If a society had developed on the surface, let's say way in the past, in Antarctica, when the South Pole was here, they would not have been wrong saying, okay, well, gosh, north is basically just the direction of the water, and south is basically the direction of inland. Because for them, that would have been absolutely true. And it would have been irrefutable. In Antarctica, it would have been irrefutable. You would have had to have taken them someplace completely foreign and shown them in a completely different way of looking at the world. But for their purposes, a place, and we're not talking, Antarctica is not some little tiny island out in the middle of nowhere. It's a place the size of Europe. They could have said, this is the center of the universe. And with the wobble, with the sun going down so many months out of the year and coming up and staying up so many months out of the year, they would have looked at the heavens and planting seasons and agriculture and everything else completely differently. In fact, the flora and fauna would have developed different adaptations to that, even if it were warmer. So, anyway, sometimes there's things worth arguing about, and sometimes there's not. But it's always worth it having a good, open, and healthy debate and discussion, absent the emotion. And that's what we're really going to try to focus on, is why sometimes what should be a simple discussion of geometry and physics and science turns into a huge, heated, emotional, personal debate. So, anyway, I will leave it there. God bless. Thank you once again, everyone who's joined us over at Patreon. Would love to have you over there. It makes a huge, huge difference in my life, even just at the $1 level, which is the only level. There's only $1, that's it, per month. And like I said, if you sign up for all 12 months at one time, you get a 10% discount. It comes out to like 90 cents per month. So all the videos that are already over there you get, all the future ones, everything. So God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great week, and we will see you guys next time.